Whew, really like the lighting in this video. Kind of dramatic, looks nice. Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Ryan Stiles Harris, and in this video today, we're gonna talk about tires. Talk about mounting, inserts, wheels, and a couple different things in between there, and show you just about how I go putting all that stuff together. So, here we go. Here we have all the basic necessities for gluing our tires. J-Concepts reflexes, J-Concepts double Ds. Next we have some regular thin CA glue. Simple Green, going to be used to clean off the edge of the wheels and the edge of the tires. Some Scotch-Brite or Brillo pad to scuff the edge of the wheels. Some tire bands to hold the tire onto the wheel. I have some Team Associated. These are just the standard 2.2 rear wheels, and then these are the 61 millimeter wheels. I wanted to do them both because they're a little bit different in how they attach the edge of the tire. And last but not least, a hole punch. I'll show you guys how all this works in just a second, and here we go. Here we have our tires, wheels, and the inserts. I'm going to start off with mounting the double Ds to the 2.2 wheels, and I'm going to use the inserts that they came with, which are the open cell inserts. The first thing I like to do is go ahead and clean the edge of the tires and then scuff the wheels and clean those off as well. I like to just use a shop towel. Go ahead and spray some Simple Green onto the shop towel. Just a little bit, don't need too much. And just go ahead and wipe down the inside edge and get off the releasing agents that they use when popping the tire out of the mold. If you don't get this stuff off and you just glue the tire straight to the wheel, it's going to not stick very well and it will probably fall off. Go ahead and grab your Scotch-Brite and go ahead and scuff the edge of the wheel. I just like to hold it, run it through just like so. And then I like to get inside the edge, make sure that any glue, any contact that the tire is going to have with the wheel, you want to make sure that you just scuff the edge of it to get some fresh surface area so that the glue gets a nice secure hold. The last thing that you have is you're going to put the insert in the tire, but before I do that, I like to put a hole into the edge of the tire so that you can get a proper balance of pressure on the inside of the tire once everything is mounted up. Punch a hole, just pull it out just like so. I like to put two just on the edge. Some people like to put it on the tread pattern. Some people like to put more than that. I think the two just on the inside edge like this is going to be more than enough. Next, it's most of the time when I run double Ds, at least the rears, I don't cut the foams. I leave them just the way that they are. If you're going to mount the four-wheel drive fronts, they come with the same size insert, and usually I end up cutting just about somewhere between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch off of this foam, typically speaking, if this is the specific tire that you're mounting. Go ahead and fold the foam over on itself, put it back in, and then make sure that the foam insert is seated well. You don't want it to be any sort of funky because it'll just make it a little bit more difficult when you go to put it on the wheel. And then you're ready to put them on the wheel. Oh, and I like to wipe the wheels off with Simple Green as well. So let's do that real quick. Just a little bit. Just in case there's anything on there that the glue isn't gonna like very well. So when it comes to putting the tire onto the wheel, there's really nothing that special. Some people are particular about what side they put the holes on. I've just made it a habit that I put them on the inside of the tire. And then I don't know that it really makes a difference, but if you notice there's little holes on the wheels that it comes by default. And I just like to make it a point that when I put these holes on, that they are going to be, so here, I'll give you an example. The holes in the wheel are here, and then the holes on the tire are here. I just think that it makes a little bit of sense that if there's any sort of pressure buildup, now I'm going to divide it or give it rather 4 opportunities to escape rather than doubling up in the same area. You could have a little bit of pressure buildup on either side. Again, I don't really know how much science there is behind that, but it's just what I like to do. Best thing that you could do when you're putting the tire on there is just work the bead in and make sure that the edge of the tire is going to sit well in the rim. you don't want there to be any insert that's in between the wheel and the tire, because when you go to glue it, not only will it feel funky and it will be not perfectly round anymore, but then the glue will spread like wildfire into the foam and it will totally destroy it, turn it rock hard, and then you'll have a pretty much useless tire and wheel at that point. Give it a good squeeze, and then that side's looking pretty good. Go over to this side, gently pull the bead out. You don't want to pull the foam insert out as well. Set the edge nicely into the groove on the wheel, on the rim, wheel, whatever. And then I like to make sure that I'm working the insert in a little bit. Give it a few of these numbers. You can roll it on the table if you want. And now it's looking pretty good. Just look at it, make sure there are no huge lumps, and then you should be good to go. We'll be gluing it here in just a moment. So now we're ready to put some glue into the wheels and tires. What you want to do, I think that this personally works the best, is go ahead and put the band on before you start gluing. This way it will hold the tire in place and it will keep the glue from traveling too far. And then it will also get it sealed exactly how you need it to. So now we're ready for the glue. Now when it comes to the glue, some people like to use the little thin tips on the end because it makes life a little bit easier. It controls the flow, it's a little bit slower so it doesn't run out as fast. I've been doing it with just the regular tip for a pretty long time. Just be careful because, like I said, it's as thin as water and it can run everywhere, and especially when you get it on your fingers, it's a little annoying. So take your time, just use a little bit at a time. You can always add more, but if you put too much, it's a little hard to take it away. So go ahead and just grab your tire. What I like to do is, with my thumb, I just kind of pull back on it until I start to see it pull just a little bit away, and then I have a little bit of a crease. Give it some, it all disappears as it's working its way around. And then I just go around and I pull the tire back a little bit. Keep feeding in a little bit at a time. I kind of like to have a little bit of a pool. And I just kind of run it around, work it in. And then when I'm almost done, I just run that little bit of bead around to get that nice seal, that edge. Make sure all the glue is going to be in there nicely, just how I like it. So go ahead and you set that one aside, let it dry. Go ahead and do the other one. What you want to do, go ahead and let that dry. Just wait a little bit before doing the other side. You just want to make sure that the glue sets and it doesn't run anywhere that you don't want it to, because right now it's still pretty wet. I usually give it anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes if the temperatures are warm enough. If it's colder outside, it's gonna be a lot longer. So if you're trying to do it at the track and it's cold outside, it might be a little difficult. You might have to use some secondary solutions like Kicker or something like that to get the glue process to speed up. But if you're in normal temperatures, you know, like above 75 degrees, it shouldn't be too bad. It shouldn't take no more than 10 minutes for it to dry enough, and then you can flip it over and do the other side. While those are drying, we can go ahead and glue up a set of the 61 millimeter wheels and tires. They're a little bit different. If you notice, there's no outside edge on this one. It's just kind of flat. So it's a little bit, in my opinion, it's easier to glue because you can just drop the glue right in there and it's gonna run all across the outside edge, which would be a really, really good seal. Whether or not you should run 61 versus the 2.2, that's really just a personal preference or just what works on that particular track. I actually run either reflexes or double Ds at my local track, just depending on what the track is doing. If it's a little looser, a little bumpier, I usually run the double Ds. If it's a little bit a higher bite and it's a little smoother, I'll go ahead and run the reflexes. That's just me, that's my personal preference. You guys are definitely welcome to do whatever works for you. Let's go ahead and grab our wheels and our Brillo pad. Go ahead and scuff this outside edge real quick. Go ahead and grab your towel again, spray some Simple Green on there. Scrub down the inside edge of that tire. Get any of those release agents off the tire so that we can get that glue nice and secure. If you've never glued up a set of tires before with closed cell inserts, they're really easy to put in. They're pretty much made to fit exactly the size without very little squishing or stretching. So they fit quite nicely. And then if you're like me and you're like, oh, I'm about to glue my tires again. A lot of times I'll forget to punch the holes in them. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but you can still just go ahead and punch the holes in it even if the insert is in there. You just kind of push it out of the way, punch a hole, 2, just like we did before, on the outside, slide it on. And it's pretty similar. You just want to make sure that the edge of the tire is going to line up with that line that was on the wheel. Make sure that the insert isn't in the way. Go ahead, flip it over, do the same thing. Kind of like to flip it out and then just let it set. And then I just make sure that it's pressed right all the way up against that line back there. With these, it can be a little easy to let the tire not sit flush with the wheel. Like you can have it to where it's sitting like a little bit too high. I don't know if you can tell that. I'm exaggerating this point. But if you can see that, what you want to do is you just take the tire and you just push it all the way up against that line so that it sets how you want it to. So that then the tire will be balanced and it will rotate the way that it should. Okay, so I went ahead and put the tire bands on, so we're just about ready to glue. Like I said before, just make sure that the tire is seated properly and pushed all the way up against that little groove on the wheel there to make sure that it's going to be balanced. Grab your glue, just like before, grab your thumb, kind of peel it back just a little bit, not too much. Drop a little bit of glue in there. If you get a little bit of a bead, just kind of work it around. So I'm going to go ahead and let those dry. The back side is going to be exactly the same. You just go ahead, pull the band off, put it on the other side, and then you just drop the glue in carefully, just like you did on this side, and then just let the tire set for at least, I'd say 20 to 30 minutes to let the glue fully cure before going out on the track. And then you'll be good to go. And hopefully your tires won't fall off. All right, so there you have it. You got your tires all glued up and ready to go on the track. The key to the stuff that we were just talking about is just take your time. Make sure that you do it right. There's nothing worse than gluing tires 5 minutes before a race because you forgot to put them together and then you go out on the track and the tires blow apart. It's just a bad thing when that happens. Take your time, do it ahead of time, do it all right so that nothing goes wrong. Yeah, I think so. So when it comes to the wheel selection and the debate of the 2.2 versus the 61 millimeter, it's kind of subjective. It just depends on what's gonna work at your track. But like I mentioned in that demonstration, I use both of them at my home track. There really isn't any secret behind the difference of the 2.2s and the 61 millimeter tire setups. My encouragement to you is just try them both and see what you like. I personally like the way that the 2.2s feel with the double Ds, and then I like the way that the 61 mils feel with the reflexes. It's just combinations that I actually like for the tracks that I race on. But that may be totally different at a different track. I'm specifically talking about my home track. It's kind of an outdoor setup, gets a little bumpy sometimes, a little bit loose, but it tends to groove up towards the end of the day. So again, just experiment and see what works for you guys. There really is no secret magical concoction of tire and wheel combinations. When it comes to inserts, this is something that I'm still a little bit new to because the closed cell inserts just didn't exist back in the day. We only had the open cell inserts. I remember, what was it, Trinity? I think that they used to make like the the staged inserts or the bomb inserts. I think, I don't know, I might be making stuff up, but I remember a lot of different firmness and colors of the foams and stuff like that, but they were all the open cell type of foam. Today we have the closed cell inserts, which tend to be a little bit more consistent. They're more molded and form fitting to go directly around the wheel and tire, and you don't really have to squish anything. And they tend to be a little bit more responsive. I think that I've tried, here's a good example. I've tried open and closed cell inserts on the J-Concepts Double Ds. It's a tire that works great on most outdoor tracks that have a little bit of grip developing throughout the day. With the open cell inserts, they tend to do better when the track is a little bit bumpy and when the tire has to kind of skip over or kind of maintain momentum through a corner going over those bumps. You don't want the tire to dig into the rut and like respond to every bump and change in the track. You kind of want it to glide over and maintain a general level of grip. And that's where the open cell inserts in that scenario work quite well. The closed cell inserts work really well when the track's a little bit smoother and there aren't as many bumps. So I don't have to worry about getting any sort of random direction on the track, and the tire can just grip directly to the flat surface and move forward. And in that case, I might not even end up using the Double D because I switch over to the Reflex like I mentioned before. Again, try them both, see what works for you, what works for your setup and driving style. So that's about it for all the stuff that I have on tires and wheels and inserts for today. Hope you guys found it helpful. If there's any tips that you have that I could use or others could use, drop it in a comment down below and I'd love to talk to you about it. So like always, if you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe for more content coming out in the future, and I will see you guys in the next one.